Hey everyone, I'm Dark Quarter and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. So last time what happened was we started doing a little race with Emmy here, the running girl, and kind of were a little too competitive with it and started really trying to race her and kind of had a little heart attack and then got chewed out by the nurse. We both did. And then Emmy said that she wanted to make it up to me, and now we're having lunch on the roof. And now it turns out that Emmy is friends with Rin, which is pretty interesting, considering that one has no arms and the other has no legs. But yeah, let's see how this lunch date goes, shall we? Come on, Lucille, what are you waiting for? She's beckoning me to join them, making room on the already small bench. Oh, they're getting close. I seat myself on the corner of the bench to take as little space as possible. It's pretty cramped, but somehow all three of us fit on it. Impressive V. Amy suppresses a giggle and places the lunchbox in front of Rin, and hands another lunchbox to me. Here you go, lunch as promised. Oh, Meg, no less. I'm impressed. Wow, this looks really good. Thanks, I make it myself when I can. Conversation dies off as I set about the business of feeding myself. Taking a few bites, I glance up and notice Rin deftly opening the lunchbox and popping a fork full of food into her mouth using only her feet. Even though I've seen it before, I can't help but be impressed at her dexterity. Yeah, that would be something to see. It's also a reminder of the sort of place I'm in right now. Will I ever get used to sights such as this? I can't decide if getting used to such a thing would be a good thing or a bad thing either. Well, I mean, you've been there for less than a week, so it's hard to get used to it already. Does getting used to this place mean that I'm giving up and being a normal person? Or does it just mean that I'm becoming more understanding about those around me? I'm distracted from my thoughts by the sight of Emmy tearing into her lunch as if it had insulted her ancestors. You seem pretty hungry. Emmy looks up, mouth half full, and swallows before nodding. My morning run always wakes up an appetite. Which is great, because then I burnt our lunch pretty quickly. Helps me keep my girlish figure. What would happen if you'd lose it? Would you become a man? I very nearly choke on my lunch, trying not to laugh. It's a figure of speech. Does your figure have to run in the mornings too? You always talk like this? Like what? Like what? I think that answers my question. Never mind. So, I struggle to think of small talk and settle on the obvious question. How'd you two meet? Rin seems content to let Emmy answer this question. Someone in the housing department thought we'd complement each other well, so we were assigned rooms next to one another. Complement each other? Like shoes in a suit. Huh? Emmy giggles at my confusion. Put us together and we've got all our rooms, get it? Ah. So I started helping Rin get ready in the mornings, and that was that. I mean, you can't help someone get dressed every morning and not get along. I see. Rin chooses this moment to interject. I have trouble with shirts. Right, that seems fairly obvious. Really? Kind of? This isn't helping, but at least Emmy seems to find the whole thing funny. That, combined with the fact that Rin is genuinely curious, makes me feel slightly better, and yet confused. I mean, you've got no arms. So, putting on a shirt seems like it'd be one of those things that would be, difficult. You know what? I'm just gonna stop talking now. It'll save me a lot of trouble in the long run. Rin nods in what I suspect is meant to be a sage manner. I see. The conversation dies as I turn my attention back to my lunch. It's really quite good. Emmy finishes her lunch first and makes a contented noise. Ah, that was good. As she busies herself with cleaning up her lunch, Rin speaks up. I'm thirsty. Oh, I almost forgot about that, sorry. With a flourish, she reaches into her bag and removes a trio of juice boxes. She tosses me one that appears to be cranberry juice, one to Rin that appears to be some kind of strawberry milk, complete with pink color scheme, and keeps an equally pink box of some kind of fruit punch for herself. I don't really like cranberry juice, so you can have that back. Rin dexterously straps her straw through the top of her box and begins to drink. I'm once again impressed by how flexible she is, but this time I keep my comment to myself. Somehow I don't think either Emmy or Rin are the sorts of people to think twice about the way they work around their particular disabilities. Rin especially so. Indeed, she gives off the impression of being entirely unaware that she's missing any limbs at all. Whether or not that's a conscious decision is another matter. I'm honestly not sure. So, Asael, how do you like it up here? It's quite nice, actually. I like high places, for the view. Thanks for inviting me up here. And for the lunch, too. Emmy grins a 1,000-watt grin, pleased by my response, I suppose. Are you sure it's not 1.21 gigawatts? No problem. Feel free to eat with us next time, too, okay? I won't make you a lunch, but you can bring your own up here. No lunch service? I don't know. Emmy looks mock offended. Trying to take advantage of my good nature. The nerve. She giggles. Well, if that's your answer, I guess Rin and I will just keep eating lunch out alone. I am suddenly assaulted by the most heart-rending puppy dog eyes I've ever seen as Emmy pouts. Kidding, I was kidding. I'd love to eat lunch up here again. Good location and the company's okay too. It's interesting, they both have green eyes. I kind of like green. Emmy frowns a bit at my declaration of okay, but seems happy enough that I've accepted her invitation. I guess this makes us friends now. Or at least acquaintances. The lunch bell rings, signaling a return downstairs. Glenn, you didn't finish your lunch again. I wasn't that hungry. If you don't eat more, you're going to fade away. Rin shrugs, as if this is an acceptable risk. Come on, we better get going. The three of us head down the stairs together. The afternoon class passes. Once again, I find myself without a plan for something to do after school, so I head to the library to return a couple of the books I finished reading. Walking inside, I see that there are about as many students here as there were on Tuesday, all the more evident from the almost total silence enveloping the room. Except for that. As I drop the books I'd borrowed onto the return slot on the counter, Yuko suddenly pops up from behind it, quite startled from the banging they make as they hit the trolley next to her. Was she sleeping? Oh, sorry, Yuko. Didn't mean to startle you. No, that's fine. Happens a lot. I'm used to it by now. Can I help you? It's okay. I think I know where everything is. Thanks anyway. I suppose I'll grab another book or two while I'm here. There's not much else to do, and after reading so much during my stay in the hospital, it's become a hard habit to break. I wander down to the fiction section towards the back of the library, scanning the bookshelves for anything that catches my eye. As I do, I look over to the corner where Hanako had been the last time I was here, not really expecting anything to come of it. Surprisingly, though, she's there, absorbed completely in a very thick book. I decide against intruding on her like last time and get back to finding reading material. Oh, come on, dude. I want to see another scene with Hanako. After an indiscernible amount of time spent perusing the aisles, I finally decide on a couple of books to get and slide them off the shelf. With a minimum of fuss, I quickly walk over to the counter, check out my books, and pop them into my bag as I walk out. By the time I leave the main building, sunset isn't too far away. A small trickle of students remain, but the majority have left, presumably to their homes and dorms. Feeling utterly drained, I head to my room to read the books I borrowed. There's been enough action and excitement for one day already. The first is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I know the story, of course, but I've never actually read the original book. It's just as trippy as I remember the story to be, with the wacky characters and nonsense plot. I start thinking of myself as some kind of an Alice, too, haplessly tumbling down the rabbit hole into this crippled wonderland. Okay, that's a rather strong expression. Still, the isolated location and the overt way the school accommodates to absolutely everything is unsettling. It's like another world. I wonder why I can't shake the feeling of being an outsider like Alice, despite most everyone being so hospitable and friendly with me. Turning another page, my mind starts drifting further away from the book. It's quiet. I can hear my heartbeat thumping against the fabric of my shirt. For some reason, it makes me feel really bad, like it has since that time in the forest with Iwanako. Like I was locked in a cage with something nasty and scary. Maybe. I put the book down for a while and stare at the ceiling, taking my time to shake off the feeling. 200 pages later, I fall asleep. That is a long time reading. 200 pages? That's gotta take a couple hours. Katawa Shoujo, directed by Michael Bay and Sam Raimi. The students rolled into class for the Saturday morning session, each and every one of them sporting the tired eyes of people that have worked through the night. There's a Saturday school? It's a little unusual, isn't it? Well, I mean, for me it would be. Well, I guess it depends on the school you go to. I've been to schools where they had weekends, weekend sessions. So, whatever. With only a day left to prepare, I suppose it's not so surprising. Thankfully, we only have to suffer through classes until the lunch break, and then our time is our own. Mutu lurches in the class in a tired stagger. I suppose students are the only people here that enjoy their late Friday nights. Without saying a word, he scrawls some page and question numbers on the board and slumps down at his desk. It's completely atypical behavior for him, but it appears that no one in the class is going to call him out on it. Wordlessly, the students shuffle their textbooks into position and get to work. Not wanting to break the trend, I do the same. Fatigue has made the class antisocial. Not a peep is heard among the ruffling papers. That can be partly attributed to the 2 empty seats beside me. For some reason, Michia and Suzune aren't present, probably doing council work for the festival. It's very quiet without Misha present. Yeah, it would be. I wonder if she was born as ready as she is, or if she is making up for Suzune's lack of voice. My guess would be that she's kind of born that way. She seems like a really outgoing, loud personality. You can't just, adapt into that position. Well, I guess you can, but I think it'd be pretty hard. Nikoi, can I speak with you a moment? I'm so engrossed in thinking about Misha that I don't even notice Mutu approaching my desk. Sure, what's this about? It's probably better if we speak outside the classroom. Something about this doesn't sound too good, but I stand up and follow him out into the hallway. Mutu stands in the hallway, scratching his head as he works out what he's trying to say. Not knowing what's going on, I wait silently. I heard from the school's nurse that you had an incident the other day. Ah, so it's about that. Well, kind of, but it's not anything to be worried about. Yes it is. Anything that can endanger your health is something to be worried about. We try our best here to prepare you for life here. Part of that involves knowing your limits and how to work around them. It would be remiss of me if I didn't speak up about this. Alright, I get it. I'm sorry. Mutu closes his eyes in frustration, and I realize that this probably wasn't the best thing to say. Something tells me that you're not sorry. Pretend as much as you want, but this isn't a normal school. A lot of people have put a lot of time, effort, and money into make sure that you and every other student here can have the same level of education as your peers. For you to abuse that by throwing out advice, especially medical advice, is plain selfish. I'm not quite sure if this is actually how he feels or if it's some act that he's practiced many times to guilt trip students into doing the right thing. Either way, it's working. I understand. This is all new to me, and I apologize. I know my limits now, and I'll be sticking to them. Mutu appears to lighten up a little, satisfied that his message has been received. So then, on to my next question. How are you finding your studies? I understand you were laid up for a while. We're not too far ahead, are we? I don't really think so. I tried to keep up when I was in the hospital, so it hasn't been too hard. Mutu taps his chin and raises an eyebrow as he absorbs this information. Is that so? I suppose there are still students out there that realize the importance of learning. I wouldn't go that far. I was only trying to keep myself occupied in my little life support prison. Well, yeah, you gotta keep up these things, right? That's exactly it. One wrong move in this world and you've left behind, right? Right. Wouldn't want that to happen. No, you wouldn't. Every week there's a new scientific discovery. Most of them mean nothing to the layperson, but any one of them could be the key to the next big thing. I'll keep that in mind. It's obvious that Mutu's serious talk is over, and he's gone back to his standard slightly scatterbrained approach to life. I think in hindsight that I prefer him this way. He's slightly more predictable in his unpredictability. Well then, I think that's all I really had to say. Let's get back inside, shall we? My relief at that suggestion is insurmountable. Sure, you're the boss, right? Mutu pauses for a moment. I don't think any of my students have ever said that to me before. For an instant, I considered replying to this, but something deep within me tells me to shut my mouth and get back into the classroom. A few of the students jump at the sound of the door, rapidly trying to pretend that they are working on the questions on the board. Some don't even bother, their heads slumped on the desk as they nap. Thankfully, it would appear that Mutu does not even notice them. He returns to his desk and retrieves a scientific journal from one of the drawers. I guess I got to him there. The class returns to the near silence that Mutu and I left in it before our chat. Mixed feelings of tiredness and anticipation buzz around the room. Everyone here is either waiting for a chance to rest or the chance to get their last-minute preparations underway. The clock on the wall slowly ticks the remaining class time away until finally the bells cry out, ending the torment. Before you all leave, I expect the answers for those problems by Monday. The class sighs as one, instantly regretting slacking off, but still acutely aware of the more pressing issues at hand. The classroom empties in a blink as everyone rushes to their last-minute festival preparations. I stay behind and try to quickly finish the questions so I don't have to bother with it over the rest of the weekend, with the festival and all tomorrow. Hanako. Apart from me, Hanako is the only one left, obviously waiting for Lily. It's weird that Lily comes all the way to our classroom to pick her up. I expect that moving around is at least nominally harder for her than it is for Hanako. But it's none of my business, and I naturally don't ask about it from Hanako. Despite the relative proximity of our seats, neither tries to strike up a conversation about that or anything else either, so an oppressive silence falls upon the classroom. Oh, come on, you can talk to her. Time passes in silence. It's probably just 15 minutes or so, but it feels longer. I turn pages of my notebook. Hanako turns pages of the novel she's reading. My pencil lead splinters against the paper just when I was about to finish a paragraph. The sounds of my irritated sigh and subsequent fumbling around for a sharpener feel like they're breaking the mood in the classroom. Hanako keeps her eyes firmly away from my direction. Before long, Lily's tall figure appears in the doorway. Hanako? Her name is all it takes to make Hanako jump up from her desk and run to Lily. Look at that little smile. They talk quietly for a moment, but it isn't long before Lily leaves down the hall and Hanako idles back into the classroom, taking her seat once again. Oh, come on, I thought you guys had a moment. I watch Hanako out of the corner of my eye out of sheer curiosity at the idea that the two would be separated. For a couple of minutes she does nothing but sit with her chin in her hand, staring at her desk dejectedly. The boredom evidently becomes too much for her though, her slender frame reaching into her bag and pulling in a small book. Come to think of it, that isn't the one I saw her reading at the library. She must be quite a fast reader to get through them at this rate. After about 10 minutes of restlessly shuffling in her seat and trying to read, Hanako closes her book and leaves too. As should I, since the assignment is all but finished and there's nothing else to do in the classroom. Not that I have anything to do anywhere else either. The school is a beehive of activity, but nobody pays me any heed. I saunter past classrooms filled with students frantically doing this and that, buzzing around like little worker bees. You wouldn't guess the school day is over. It's a bit quieter outside, but not by much. People zip by left and right, hurrying as quick as they can, busy and energetic. I feel the opposite. The midday sun seems to be draining all the spirit out of my body, making it feel limp all over. Warm, soft air flows inside my shirt, feeling like a cushion. I yawn lazily, thinking about what I'd do. I'll drop off my books at the dorms first, and then something I haven't decided yet. Maybe Kenji is in his room. On the way to the dorms, I spot Emmy coming my way, running despite not having those weird running prosthetics on. I wave at her and she skids to a stop. Yo, Haseo! Spatters of white and green paint adorn her nose and chin respectively, but her smile is wide, as it seems it always is. She leans closer to me, amplifying the feeling she is examining me. What you doing? Nothing really. I don't have anything important to do for the festival, and everyone else seems to be doing something important. That's perfect. Then you can help me in winning. With the festival preparations? I'm not sure if I would be of much help. That's fine. I'm not much help either. Emmy grabs my wrist and starts dragging me back inside the school quite forcefully. Even her walking speed is more like jogging, making me stumble over myself simply trying to keep up. The stairs slow Emmy down a little bit. Maybe it's hard to climb with her legs, or maybe she's finally run out of breath. We go all the way back to the third floor into the seniors' hallway, ending up where I left 5 minutes ago. I could just as well have stayed here waiting for Emmy had I known. So, how are you? Is Reen working on that mural still? That's right, she needs all kinds of paint and brushes and stuff, so I went to get them from the art classroom. And you need me to help with that? Well, Lane told me that already helped her, so I thought you wouldn't mind. I see. So, thanks to Emmy's flaky logic, here I am again, collecting stuff from the art classroom for other people. The room was empty apart from ourselves and the lonely specks of dust floating in the air. Emmy skipped straight away to the back wall, digging out a tiny crumpled piece of paper from her pocket. While she tries to make sense of the scrawled handwriting, I take a closer look at the materials lying around here. Dozens of paint cans and bottles are arranged on the shelves in the most unorganized fashion. Some look like they've been left here for several decades, relics of previous art club generations. Next to the heavy stacks of neatly piled drawing paper are boxes of different sized brushes and unsorted crayons. The smells of paint, turpentine, and fresh paper float in the stale air, mixing in my nostrils to form that unmistakable scent of art. Emmy studies her notes, comparing them to markings on the various paint cans, and passes them to me as she finds the correct matches. She stretches her neck to look on the topmost shelf, but it's not quite enough. Her eye level stays below the shelf no matter what she does. Emmy gives up and just looks up the shelf longingly, like a child at a toy store, huffing in annoyance. After a moment of building anger, she starts jumping up and down, apparently trying to speed read the labels during the fraction of a second she can see them, and catch what she can. It's no surprise that she fails miserably, and almost manages to bring the entire shelf crashing down. Now I see why me lending a hand here would be useful. Come on, let me do that. You can't jump high enough, and I don't want you to hurt yourself trying. Also, I'm like twice your height. You are not. She turns around in flaring scorn, flushed cheeks and all. Just kidding, just kidding. Anyway, I'll look up there, okay? She glares at me one more time, but can't come up with a retort. With a grudging humph, turns her back to me, but begins scrounging around the top shelf for paint while below, Emmy crouches to scavenge what she can from the cupboards. I shake my head a little after doubly checking to ensure she can't see me doing so. Emmy having a complex about her height was a surprise. I wouldn't have joked about it otherwise. She seems easygoing, but I guess everyone has their weak spots. Only after we have almost all the items collected and spread out on a desk like a treasure hunter's spoils do I realize that it wasn't necessarily the height jab that got her riled up. She might not like to be told that she can't do something, like jump. But Emmy herself seems to have forgotten all about it already. Quick to anger, quick to forgive, she is that type of person. At least she doesn't seem to have taken anything to heart, as she chatters away happily while we pick up the rest of the items and then make our way back to Bryn. I chivalrously carry the book of materials as we make our way towards the dormitories. Lynn is really stressed about getting a painting done. It's her own photo. She should have started earlier. Is she going to make it? No idea. Looks good to me, but with Lynn, you never know what's going on. I found her this morning lying in front of the dorm in fetal position. She hadn't slept all night. I can't believe that the night nurses hadn't found her. And now she's painting again like crazy. Yeah, I've noticed that she comes off as kinda unhinged, so to speak. Emmy giggles at that, as well as at my likely too obvious awkwardness. I don't mind it. She's just a little weird sometimes. On that, I can agree with her. Unlike me, Emmy seems to be cool with Rin's whatever it is that feels so off about her. Still, they don't feel close like Misha and Shizune do. With them working as a single entity sometimes, it's hard to say where one ends and the other begins. Even though they're so different, just like Emmy and Rin are. And Rin is the most different of them all, different from anyone else I've ever met. Yeah, I guess she's a very unique person. I return to that word again, as if it encompasses Rin's personality by itself, but really it's just a substitute for a lengthy description of her oddities. Emmy giggles as I grasp out for a properly descriptive word. She's just weird. You know, earlier she just spent half an hour sitting on her box, instead at her toes. She giggles again in a way that makes me think she doesn't know what's funny about it. It just is. All that time. Alright, well, I think this is a good time to stop. I've been recording for a little while. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. Hopefully you're still watching, and I'm not just talking to myself. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Keep being cool, doing all that cool stuff. and I'll see you next time.